Hi, let's take a look at a short story by Harlan Ellison, certainly the dean of American science fiction after Robert Heinlein. Now, in this story, which is set in a city some hundreds of years in the future, we're told a fantastic set of circumstances that yet has very much to do with our lives here today. Now, the story is unlike something like Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, which also has an amazing circumstance where a group of villagers and farm people decide to stone this woman to death so that they can have a good corn crop. And that's told in a very realistic manner. Instead, this story is told in a fantastic manner. It's told with a kind of a heightened sensitivity and a heightened dialogue. As you'll notice, the vocabulary is way up there as Ellison really reaches for some amazing metaphors. Okay, the story also has a great many references to our culture and our literary past. The very character, Everett C. Marm, the truth bringer of the story, with that very American name, Everett C. Marm. Everett C. Marm is a Harlequin, a clown. Like so many of the truth bringers of the past, he's one of those outsider characters, like the clown in, or the fool in Shakespeare's King Lear, and of course there's Antigone. We remember when Marm is confronted by the master timekeeper who's going to turn him off. I mean, because that's what they do in this world, is when you've been late too often, they take away the seconds and hours from your cardio plate. They've been subtracted from your account of heartbeats. And when the master timekeeper tells Everett Marm, "I'm going to turn you off," Marm's response is, "Get stuffed, and I'd rather be dead than live in a world with a boogeyman like you." Now, do we remember Antigone in the same circumstance, talking to King Creon, who tells Antigone that the punishment for her crime of burying her brother is death? And Antigone's response is that she would rather be dead than live in a world with a tyrant like him. That his words are simply troublesome to her. So go ahead and kill me. It's the little figure standing up against the tank in Tiananmen Square. They don't have a grand uniform, as in Marm's case. They're simply wearing a fool's motley. But nonetheless, they're carrying the truth, while all the people around them are marching to the beat of the TikTok man, or the dictator, or whoever it is, the other citizens of Thebes who are knuckling under to Creon's decree. As an example of the elevated prose, there's the section where Marshal Delahanty, an ordinary person, gets a notice that he's going to be turned off because he's been late too often. And how does it go? His wife opens the notice, and "Marshal," she screamed. "Marshal, termination, Marshal, oh my God, Marshal, what'll we do, Marshal, oh my God, Marshal." And in their home that night was the sound of tearing paper and fear and the stink of madness. Went up the flue, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing they could do about it. But now, what would we do? That's always a thing in the story. You want to imagine yourself, well, what would I do? Well, I'd move to the next state if I got a notice like that. And that's exactly what Marshal Delahanty tries to do, is he tries to run. But Marshal Delahanty tried to run, and early the next day, when turn-off time came, he was deep in the Canadian forest, 200 miles away, and in the office of the TikTok man, they blanked his cardio plate, and Marshal Delahanty keeled over running, and his heart stopped, and the blood dried up on its way to his brain, and he was dead. That's all. One light went out on the sector map in the office of the master tick-tock man, the master timekeeper, while notification was entered for fax reproduction, and Georgette Delahanty's name was entered in the welfare rolls until she could remarry. Okay, everything orderly, which is the end of this footnote, and all the point that need be made, except don't laugh, because what in the world would happen to the Harlequin if ever the tick-tock man found out his real name? It isn't funny. Now that's the thing about this story. Oh, it's told in very funny terminology, but it isn't funny. The real message of this is that our lives can be manipulated in this way, and we can let them be manipulated in this way, and it really isn't funny at all. Yeah, it's one heck of a good story. Thank you. To the heightened language that he uses as he reaches out all at once to both the 1930s and the Bible for some of his metaphors. He's talking about the workers with practice motion and absolute conservation of movement. They sidestepped up onto the slow strip, and in a chorus line reminiscent of a Busby Berkeley film of the antediluvian, that means before Noah's flood, the antediluvian 1930s, advanced across the strips, ostrich walking, till they were lined up on the express strip. Marm is looking down from his airboat. He stared down at the neat Mondrian arrangement of the buildings, and here's a painting of Mondrian's suggesting the kind of arrangement that he was talking about.